Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today for our Facebook Live. It is Monday, November 18th, and here we go. We're up, we're live. Okay, I had put a link up and something happened and it didn't work, and so here we are. We had a technical malfunction, but here we are. We're live. I'm glad you're with me. In the comments section, say hello, tell me where you're from. I'd love to hear from you. I love reading those and seeing where everybody's from. Today we're talking about manners and why it's important that you teach these to your children and ways that you can do that. And this all started with a yawn. So, little backstory here. My husband and I, a few weeks ago, were in a bagel place having breakfast. We frequented there, from time to time, and so they're used to seeing us. We were leaving, and we were saying goodbye to the staff. And the girl literally did this. Yawned, like right in front of us. And I was I was kind of taken aback. I was like, wow, she didn't cover her mouth. I was stunned because I was raised you cover your mouth when you do those things. So I was kind of surprised. Anyway, I said to my husband, there's a reel. And so I did a reel. Now watch how one thing goes to the next, snowball. So I did a reel. I had a lot of interesting feedback. Some people agreed. Some people didn't. That's fine. To each his own. And then I got to thinking about it, and I said, I'm going to create just a one sheet. So I've been creating those. You've seen them on the site from time to time. And I did a 10 sheet. I mean, a one sheet. 10 manners every child should be taught. Every child needs to know, or whatever it is. 295 downloads within 36 hours. I was surprised. I was really surprised at that. Because to me, manners are basic. It's just common sense. That's something you automatically teach your children from the time they're young. This isn't hard. From the time they're little, you're teaching your children to say, thank you, excuse me, you're welcome. Not hard, okay? So we're going to get into that because then that also led to something else. But before we do that, some quick announcements. Testimonials. For those of you who submitted a testimonial on the website, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. I think I've got 20 of them up there now. I'd love to add more, so if you're so inclined, you just go to my website, PamelaPalanza.com, and I'll actually put that in here. And you can see the testimonials that are already there, and then you can also submit one if you like through the contact form on the website. And let me just put in right now my website on here. It's really simple. So you can, if you want to go look at the stuff, because everything else I'm going to tell you about is also right on my website. It's very easy to find. Okay, there's a link to the website. Okay, podcast. So Common Sense Parenting with Pam, the podcast is up, episode 5 tomorrow morning. It's the 5th of our 10 foundational skills, and it's about adaptability. So you can catch that tomorrow morning. If you've missed any of the other episodes, you can also check those out. The manual, I call it the manual because it's a lengthy title. Common Sense Parenting, the manual you wish they came with, is available on Amazon. It's been up for about 3 weeks now. So quite a few copies, so thank you for that. But this would make great Christmas gifts. So I have grandparents saying, how can I help my children parent differently or give them ideas? This is a way you could do it. Anyway, go to my website. At the top, there's a banner. You just click on that banner. It takes you right to Amazon. Hey, Mariana, hello. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. And then, okay, this is the big. I have a secret project I'm working on. Now, I'm not going to tell you too much about it, other than to say it's coming in mid-January. I'll be giving you little hints along the way. It's coming in mid-January, and it's going to help you learn how to manage children's behaviors more effectively. Okay? I had a cough. You see how I covered my mouth? I used my manners. That was unscripted. That just happened. Anyway. Hey, Margaret, Elaine. Good to see you all. I'm glad you're with me. Okay. So that yawn triggered all of this. Because once I saw that yawn, and it really, I personally, this is what I feel. I'm seeing a decline in children being taught manners and using manners today. I don't know why. And so that yawn then kind of reinforced that for me. And then I did the reel. And then From there, I did the download, the one sheet in 295 downloads in 36 hours, which to me was just totally surprising. Like I said, this is just basic common sense. Hey, Linda and Margaret. So I decided, okay, I did the one sheet, and then I had people reaching out and saying, but could you tell us more? Could you tell us more? I'm like, okay, I'll tell you more. So we're doing this today, but I also created a 34-page ebook. There's on my website right now on the main page. You can grab it quick. I'm only going to have up there for a week. It takes each one of the manners that I talked about in the one sheet, tells you why it's important, and then gives you tips for how you can actually teach that to your children. Now, we're going to go over some of ideas today, but they're not, the ones I'm teaching you today are not in the book. So these are just separate. So these are new ones you can add to what's in the book. Okay, so let's get into this because manners are so important for your children to learn young. This is going to serve them through life, through school, through work, friendships, in society. They need to know how to be courteous and have manners. It teaches them empathy. It teaches them emotional intelligence. It teaches them to be aware of other people and their feelings. And it's just common sense, right? So I'll share some ways that I was taught when I was growing up. But I say this a lot, and you expect this from me every time. Model what you expect. It's that simple. If you expect your children to use manners, you have to model it for them. They have to hear it. You're their first teacher. They're going to imitate what they see and hear. So use your manners. And then remind them when they need to use theirs. And eventually, they're going to get it. Now, with young children, it's repetition, repetition, repetition. And you're like, if I have to say this one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. But guess what? Keep saying it. Because maybe by the 100th time you've said it, it hits and they're like, now I've got it. And you don't have to tell them again, right? Repetition is important, but so is modeling. All right, so we're going to talk about, I'm going to break these down for you for each one, and I'm going to give you a little thing you can do to teach them. Now, at the end, I'll try to answer questions. Hey, Bonnie. Hey, Janice. Hi, Elaine. I'm going to give you little tips, and then at the end, I'll answer questions if I have time. And if not, you all know, put them up anyway. I'll catch them after. Okay, so for please, what you can do with that is you hide small treats around the house or toys, and you're going to do like a treasure hunt with your children. And you can adapt this depending on the age, okay? And you say, okay, if you want to find something, you have to ask for a clue. And so the child says, can I have a clue, please? They have to say please. If they don't say please, you just don't say anything. When they say please, then you say, oh, it's in the living room. Can I have another clue, please? It's by the chair. So you just play games like that to get them to remember to say please every single time, because that is the repetition, the repetition, the repetition. And then you're going to talk to them about times that they need to say please. You'll have those conversations, but that's just kind of a fun way to get the ball rolling on that. Okay? All right. Hey, Brenda. Okay, so for thank you. Okay. I don't know if some of you saw the reel I posted, I think it was last week. Lady had her 3 children at the Dairy Queen, 8, 7, and 5, got them ice cream. They walked outside. She waited. She said, I counted in my head quietly to myself, 10 seconds. Then I walked out. I took their ice cream out of their hands and threw it in the trash because they never looked the clerk in the eye to give her eye contact, nor did they say thank you. I applaud her. Now, some people said, that's so mean. I was like, no. Do you not think that mother told those children 100 times to say thank you and did it herself and they still didn't do it? They learned a lesson that day that they will never forget, and I'll bet you they're more aware of saying thank you when they need to. Okay? So that's one way. That was very impactful. Okay. The other way is you create a scavenger hunt. So you sit down with your children and you say, let's put a list together of times when it's important for you to say thank you. And so you do a checklist, like when you get on the bus in the morning, or you get off the bus to say thank you to the bus driver, when a friend at school lends you a pencil, when a sibling lets you play with one of their toys, when I make you dinner and I put it on the table, and you say thank you. So talk about the times. You can do the checklist, and then if they do it during the day, they get check, check, check. And then you can give them a special treat if you want to. But it just makes them start thinking about opportunities to say thank you. Okay? So that's a quick and easy one. All right. And the you're welcome. This is fun. So you sit down with your child or stand, you have a ball, you toss it to them, you say thank you. It's another way to teach them thank you. And they throw it back and say you're welcome. Thank you, you're welcome. Repetitive, repetitive. Now you can do this sitting or standing. You can speed it up. You can bounce the ball. You can throw it overhead, under your legs, whatever you want to do. Make it fun. But thank you, you're welcome. Thank you, you're welcome. Back and forth. Okay? For excuse me. Now I was raised, if you were walking and you bump into somebody, you say excuse me, right? I've had people bump into me and just not even look, keep going, right? So to teach your children to say excuse me, a fun thing you can do is the bubble game. So children love bubbles. You blow bubbles, and when they pop them, they have to say excuse me. So you blow bubbles, pop, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. And then, you're going to have a conversation about times it's appropriate to use the words excuse me, but you've made it fun and repetitive. You can walk through them in the house and accidentally bump them. Now, not hard, don't knock them over, but bump into them and just go, oh, excuse me, excuse me. And so you can teach them by physically letting them experience that, okay? Now for covering your mouth. Okay, so here's how I was raised. You cover your mouth if you cough and if you yawn and if you sneeze. You burp with your mouth closed. That sounds weird. I mean, as a kid, I could burp some good burps. And my father and mother didn't really appreciate that. So my father would say, muffle your burp. Now, when I would hear him say Pamela Lynn, I knew I better shut my mouth when I burp, and you muffle it. When you cough, you sneeze. I was raised, when you sneeze, you say, excuse me. And I don't hear people do that a lot, but I'll be like, excuse me. Now, since the pandemic, we've taught a lot of our children to do this, right? Cover it. But you can teach them that they're like superheroes, especially your younger children. And this is their shield. And if they're at home, they can put their superhero shield up and cover. Or you can just have them do this. Okay? Now, here's a funny, let me check time, we're good. Okay, here's a funny thing a lady told me on the yawn reel. She said, well, that's stupid to cover your mouth when you yawn because you cut off the oxygen flow to your brain. Okay, I didn't say smother yourself. I said cover your mouth. There's a difference, okay? Sometimes I have to be really, really specific and literal on my reels, apparently. But anyway, teach them to cover up. It's so important. When I worked in childcare for 40 years, 20 of that was going into childcare centers and getting them ready for state assessments. One of the quality indicators in the infant room was cribs were 3 feet apart, and in the other rooms, nap cots or mats were at least 18 inches apart, if not more. And you know why? Because when a child sneezes, it projects at least a foot, at least 12 inches. So you can imagine your baby's in one crib, baby's in the next crib, they're able to stand up, they pull up and go, shoo, all over your child. No. Nope. Now they don't know manners, right? They're too young. But that's why we physically would move the cribs 3 feet apart. So teach your children about the spread of germs. You don't want to spread coughing and did you see when I coughed at the beginning, I'm like this? There's nobody here for me to cough and spread germs to. It's just automatic for me. So teach your children that automatically it goes up. Okay. Listening ears. So I had a large family child care home at one time. I had 12 3 to 5 year olds I cared for. Those are my favorite ages to work with. And I taught the children to have listening ears. So we would sit down for story time and I'd say, put your listening ears on. And we would physically do like this. Okay. And then I'd be reading a story and say one of the children started talking. And I'd say, oh, that looks like your listening ears fell off. Well, wait while you put them back on. And I'd sit and wait. Or I would say things like, you need to put your listening ears back on. It's my time to talk and your turn to listen. Very nicely, you can tell them, put your listening ears on. So that's one way you can tell them to listen without interrupting. And there are a bunch of others, and there are some in the book, but that's just a fun one to do. Chew with your mouth closed. Okay, some of you have seen maybe my reel about this. This is a real pet peeve for me. I had a little girl in my home that I cared for was 3. And she always chewed with her mouth open. Every time I came. And I would remind her, please chew with your mouth closed. Anyway, one Saturday, she and I and her mother and my daughter, who was her same age, we went out to breakfast together. And what do you think the mother did when she ate? So I understood where the little girl got it from. Okay. So I was always reinforcing that to all the children in my care. Please chew with your mouth closed. So my children were pretty good about it. But then they got to a point where they weren't always remembering and were eating and they're talking and food's in their mouth and falling out or spraying. Okay. So I had it. Okay. This is one of those times where as a mom, you like, I am not going to say this again. So we were eating dinner, and I put a huge spoonful of applesauce in my mouth, and I squeezed my teeth like this and squeezed it out of my mouth. And it dropped on the plate. It was dribbling down my chin. And my children are going, that is disgusting. And I said, that's how you look when you're chewing with food in your mouth. And then it was like the ice cream lady where she took their ice cream away. They remembered that. To this day, they remember that. Because it was impactful to go like, ugh, right? So chew with your mouth closed. You have to show them. So that means you have to do the same thing. Chew with your mouth closed. Okay. Not before entering. Oh, for chewing with your mouth closed. Here's the other thing with your children. You can make them a member of the secret chewing club. And only people who chew with their mouth closed get to be in the club. You can make little, cards that they're a member of the secret chewing club. Make it fun. Just make it fun and creative. Okay, knock before entering. This one's simple too and fun. You stand behind the closed door and your child's on the other side and they knock. And you go, who's there? And they answer, it's Sammy. What would you like? What do you need? I want to come in and play with your toys. No, go away. Okay, or okay, come on in. But you kind of role play it with them and then you can switch and you let them be in the room and you're the one wanting to enter the room. But they need to understand when they knock, that doesn't mean they can just walk in. That means they have to wait for permission, and sometimes permission may be denied. And they have to know that's okay too. So just play it with them. Make it fun. Cleaning up after yourself. Okay, for this, they need to be learning from a very young age how to clean up after themselves. Simple things like they get up in the morning to go to school and they're getting dressed. When they take their pajamas off, they don't just toss them on the bed or leave them on the floor. They either fold them up, put them back in the drawer for the next day under the pillow. My mother used to always put her nightgown under the pillow. Or put them in the hamper. Okay, when they come home from school, they hang their backpack up. They empty their backpack and put the stuff in the lunchbox in the sink or whatever. When they're getting ready for bed at night, again, clothes go in the hamper. If you make them dinner and you're done eating, they take their dishes to the sink or the dishwasher. From the time my children were 18 months old, they were cleaning their own plates off the table and bringing them to me. I taught them from a very young age. So you teach them how to clean up after themselves. You don't want to see a trail of clothes and toys and books and food all through your house. And you will if you don't teach them this. Make sure you start them early and remind them every single time. So if you want to make it fun for them, you can create a cleanup chart. And every time they clean up behind themselves, you give them a sticker or a star. And when they, maybe for the week or the day, however you choose to do this, they get a special treat. They get maybe some 15 minutes of TV time. They get a special snack, whatever, however you want to reward them. But they learn cleaning up after themselves is important. Okay? This is a big one for me. If it is not yours, you don't touch it. You ask before touching it. Right? Because especially when you have siblings, they'll take each other's stuff and then fights break out. So you have them play a game where you put a lot of items on a table or in a box or a bag. Some are yours, some is your child's, some is maybe their siblings. And they pick it out and they go, mine, or ask first. It's not mine, so I have to ask first. And so they start to physically handle those objects and understand, oh, this is not mine, I have to ask first before I use it. Let me give you some examples. My older son, well, my second son, he went to Virginia Military Institute for college. And they were taught, if it is not yours, you do not touch it. He said, if I'm walking down the sidewalk and there's a pencil on the ground and it's not mine and I pick it up, I could be thrown out of school. Like, they don't play, okay? So one day I was there for a parent weekend, and he and I were walking down the steps in the stadium football game. And I looked down, there was money on the ground. And I said, oh, look, there's money. He's like, I'm not touching it. He like backed away, put his hands up. And I said, we can't leave it there. He said, you can pick it up. You can pick it up. I said, well, it's not mine. I'm not keeping it. He said, well, you go with me to my commanding officer, and you can hand it to him. So we went down. He said, sir, my mother found this. And we turned the money over to him. Okay? Because it was drilled into their heads. If it is not yours, you do not touch it. You ask permission first. I was raised the same way. Now, here I am in Dollar Tree. This happened a couple of years ago. I'm in checkout line. I look down, and there's $35 in cash at my feet. Someone who dropped. I picked it up, and I said to the clerk, here, I just found this money on the ground. And I handed it to her. And the guy behind me goes, well, you could just keep it. I said, but it's not mine. And he said, well, no one's going to know the difference. I said, yeah, but I know the difference. I was raised to be honest. This doesn't belong to me. He said, well, she's probably just going to keep it. I said, well, that's on her, not me. I did the right thing, right? It wasn't mine. I picked it up and handed it off to somebody. I touched it in that instance to make sure somebody got it. But teach your children to ask permission first, okay? Be respectful of others. All righty. Again, you can do a little game with the children to say, let's find times when it's opportunities for you to be respectful. So, for instance, your sibling shared a toy, and you can say thank you. Or I helped you set the table. You helped me set the table, which is very respectful. So teach them to look for those opportunities during the day when they can show respect for others by saying thank you, by sharing a toy, by letting someone enter when they knocked. Okay? That just then becomes natural for them to do that. Quiet voices in public places. Okay, we know the inside-outside voice, right? But you can play this game with your children. You can say library, and they go, we whisper in the library. You can say park, and they go, oh, we can talk loud at the park. We're in a restaurant. What do you do there? Oh, in a restaurant, we talk in a regular voice, and we behave. We use our manners in the restaurant. And so you can, different times, you can do this when you're driving to school. You can do it when you're eating breakfast. Just give them different scenarios and say, what voice would you use? If we're in a grocery store, what voice would you use? Would you use your loud voice in a grocery store? Or would you use your regular calm voice in a grocery store? And so let them use their voices in those different tones so they can hear what that sounds like. You model that for them too so they understand. And then it's easy when you're out with them. We're going in a restaurant, we're going to use our restaurant voice. We're using our library voice. We're using our store voice. So they become, it becomes natural. They know that. Okay? And apologize when wrong. It's important to teach your children, everyone makes mistakes. It's not the end of the world, but you apologize. When you make a mistake, you apologize to somebody. You say, I'm sorry. You say you spilled milk. Well, oh, it's okay. No big deal. Sorry. Clean it up. You're sorry. Okay, great. Now, here's where I have an issue with this. Working in early childhood for 40 years, I saw a lot of times when teachers forced children to say they're sorry when they really weren't. And I have a problem with that. So let me give you an example. Say a little boy hits another boy, and so he hits him back. But the teacher doesn't see the first boy hitting this child. And now she says, you shouldn't hit him. Keep your hands to yourself. Tell him you're sorry. And he's like, because he's not sorry. He's not sorry because he just got hit. And nobody did anything about it. And now he's being made to apologize to this child. And he'd be like, so in a situation like that, or he'd go, I'm sorry. And he'd walk away, not really sorry. In a situation like that, the teacher would probably need to have a conversation, like what happened? Let's talk about what happened. I'll give you an example with my own children. My daughter, say she hit my son, and my son would whack her back, right? Because she hit him. And then she'd go, he hit me. Ow, he hit me. And I'd say, what happened? He'd say, well, she smacked me first. And I would look at her and go, well, Kenneth, stop smacking him. He won't smack you back. You need to apologize for hitting him, but stop it. You hit somebody, they might hit you back. That's natural consequences of your behavior. Okay? So don't force them to say they're sorry if they don't mean it. But I'm talking more about incidences where they may drop a friend's toy and go, oh, I'm sorry, let me get it back for you, whatever. Instances like that. Does that make sense? Okay, I went over those quick. I want to see if there's any comments there. Remember to go to my website because the book is up there. It's only going to be up there for a week. It's pretty specific about ways you can teach them. So let me see what we have here. We got a lot of people tuning in, even though I had the malfunction. Oh, good, Elaine. You agree? Great. Bonnie, I'm trying, girl. She said, thanks for doing this for our next generation. I'm trying. Okay. Elaine, you feel embarrassed you were taught as a kid, but figuring out how to model and show doesn't seem to stick. You know what? Just be patient, Elaine. That's why I said 100 times, you literally have to sometimes say it over and over and over. It's repetition. It's all repetition. Okay. Hey, Sharon. Skip and jump. I'm a new follower. Yay. Okay. Elaine, let's see what else. I teach my boy manners. Christine, hello. I teach my boy manners. He's 7 years old. You've had people compliment. Thank you. Thank you. No, and I thank you for saying your kind words to me. And I will tell you something. Here's something else to keep in mind. Sometimes at home, your children aren't going to be using their manners like they should, but yet they'll go out to a friend's house or to school and the teachers will go, wow, your child's so mannerly. Or, you know, your friend just spent the night at someone's house, at their friend's house. Your child just spent the night at a friend's house and they're going, your child has such good manners. And you're like, well, they better because they know them. They don't. Thank you. It's nice that they did. So don't be alarmed if sometimes they're not using them at home. Just kind of remind them. Okay. Anelma Bama. Hello. Belinda. Faustino. Wonderful. Sarah. Oh, Sarah. That is one of my pet peeves, eating with your mouth open. And I see it in restaurants. I see it out all the time. I don't understand why people do that. Kate, I used to say to my boys when they would whine, I can't hear you when you whine. Very good. Yeah, I would just tell my daughter, my youngest, I would say, you need to use your regular words because I don't understand that. And I wouldn't respond until she stopped whining. Okay. Christy, I like that. Put a mirror in front of your face. That is actually one of the tips in the book to do. That's great. Hi, Kate. Hi, Thelma. Okay, my son, Elaine said, my son tries to bring his cup or plate and try to wipe. That's all right. It depends how old he is. You know, if he just is at least bringing it from the table to the sink or the dishwasher, that's fine. As he gets older, he'll learn how to do that better. It's not a problem. Hey, Sharon, Donna, Rose, Mariana. Okay. My son is high functioning. Kayla, my son is high functioning ASD. He's been very disobedient, refusing to listen. Okay. So any parents out there have ideas for her, please hop on, give her some ideas. Kayla, please go into our Common Sense Parenting with Pam group. You can join that. It's a free group. Answer the questions in there. I'll approve you. Post that question in there. We have a lot of parents with children with ASD who might be able to give you some really good advice. Okay? We'd love to have you in there. And anybody else who wants to join the group, we'd love to have you. Hi, Sheila, Debbie. I teach 4-year-olds every year. Oh, girl, you start ever teaching manners from day one. You have to start teaching them from day one. Hey, Reg, I think I'm saying that right. Terry, and then Lyndon, I think we got it all. Okay, so everybody, I'm glad you're here. Time is up. If you have any questions, feel free to just put them in here or comments. I'll get to them later. And hit the website for the book and all the other stuff I talked about. So, all right, I'll see you guys all next week. And until then, remember, hug and love your babies. Bye.